Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Leslie presents. And now your host, Paul Leslie.
We're here today with Rain of Rhythm and Rain here on the Gulf Coast in Gulfport, Mississippi. How you doing, Rain?
Doing fine, thanks.
Tell the listeners at home, what exactly is Rhythm and Rain?
What exactly is Rhythm and Rain? Well, Rhythm and Rain is, it's a memory. It's good music and good times and fond memories. Lots of tunes that you haven't heard in 10, 20, 30 years possibly. Currently, we're a Rhythm and Rain trio. I have a percussionist and another guitarist with me. And performing all around the southeast United States, doing James Taylor, Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Jim Croce, America, Little River Band, a lot of Jackson Browne. Stuff as obscure as John Prine and is known as Lyle Lovett.
So what can a person expect when they're going to go see a Rhythm and Rain show?
Again, I think that's going to be the fond memories. We're going to be bringing up stuff from the 60s and 70s that a lot of our listeners brings them back to, a place where things were simpler. There wasn't near as much stress in the world for them, and high school or even beyond for that. So they're going to catch tight harmonies, great guitar work, fabulous percussion, and just a good time.
And so how did Rhythm and Rain come to be?
This incarnation of Rhythm and Rain came to be actually after the birth of my daughter 6 months ago. I took some changes in my current duo and decided to put the band on a new plane, pick up some different venues, and to stop playing as much. We had been doing as much as 300 and 320 shows a year, and 9 shows every 6 days for months at a time were really starting to wear down on us. So now we're much more selective on the shows, and that's brought up the quality of the show by dropping down the quantity of it. So the new incarnation has actually been a resurrection of an old band I had called Acoustic Shadow out of the Mississippi Delta years ago, and the vocalist from that group has come down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and that's what's reformed with the Rhythm and Rain trio.
So how did you get started with music, Rain?
Oh, we need 6 hours for that conversation. To not impersonate Paul Harvey too much here, music for me started in Natchez, Mississippi with both my parents buying a piano out of an old black church for $75, and my father took a pencil and wrote the notes on the piano keys and taught me piano that way. That was probably 1974. Then years later, I picked up trumpet and trombone and French horn. Played that all the way through college, but 1985, I was in 10th grade and picked up guitar at that point. And immediately started playing for the show choir in my high school as well as with a local garage band. And did the hair band of the 80s thing until my 3rd year of college, where we got tired of playing 2 or 3 nights a week and making no money. So I decided to break that band up and put together my first acoustic group, even before MTV had the term unplugged in their playlist or genre there. We picked that up and did mostly 70s and early 80s music, but just with acoustic guitars. So, that's where the Acoustic Shadow Band had actually started back in, 1990, 91 there.
And you mentioned acoustic, and a lot of the music you mentioned covering were heavily acoustic musicians. And one thing I'd like to stress to the listeners from the recordings of Rhythm and Rain's performances, and also having had the pleasure to hear them several times, there's a strong Jimmy Buffett.
Definitely a huge Buffett influence in there. That was probably from Dad owning Songs You Know by Heart, which I think that's kind of a staple in anybody's library. And the early Buffett video, the live concert where everybody was standing in the water in front of the stage, early influences on me there. So I would say, yes, between the coastal feel of just living down here on, the world's largest man-made beach here in Mississippi, and and growing up around all that great music that my dad had. So.
And I know that Rhythm and Rain is also the official band of the Towns Around Biloxi Parrothead Club.
That we are. They, one of the past presidents of the club called us up, years ago now, 4, 5, 6 years ago maybe, probably 4 or 5, who knows. And just kind of mentioned that the Parrotheads were getting together and they were looking for some entertainment. And before you knew it, we were playing every single Wednesday, 52 weeks a year for these folks, as well as for their conventions and local flockings. And the Towns Around Biloxi Club has kind of become like a second family to us. They help us move when we need to. They help us load in and out, and definitely support us in a big way.
On a lot of your shows, and also from the recordings, you seem to like to play a lot of the more obscure songs.
That's another one of those memory things. I know a lot of folks own the albums or own the CDs, as they call them these days. And they get burnt out on typical top 40 and oldies radio stations playing the same 62 songs in rotation every single day. So I kind of pride myself in playing tunes that you've either never heard live before or you've not heard it performed live in very many years.
Are there any tunes in particular that come to mind that are your favorites to play, or that you just think it's neat to pull out of the hat?
Oh, gosh. There are. In Jimmy Buffett's playlist, tunes like West Nashville Ballroom Gown. Tonight is one of our encores on stage. We did Happily Ever After by Mr. Buffett. A lot of his older ballads from the 70s and 80s that were really great storytelling tunes but weren't radio hits or even B-side album tracks or anything come to mind. Of course, really obscure Jim Croce tunes, Roller Derby Queen and Rapid Roy come to mind. America tunes, Sandman, and Little River Band pieces and whatnot. There's the list could go on. Jackson Brown's The Load Out and Stay. You very rarely hear anybody pull that one out of the hat. So Lyle Lovett's just got countless tunes that we could go on and on and on and on with just the obscurities. And a lot of one-hit wonders are out there too. A lot of folks that just had that single radio hit and never could make another one. We'll knock the dust off of those for folks too.
A lot of times I've noticed with your shows, you tend to have something featured in it that's different. For example, like on some of the recordings you had Scott Nickerson, the founder of the first ever Parrothead Club, playing harmonica. Tell us a little bit about some of your guests and what it's like when Rhythm and Rain changes things up a little bit and plays with other people.
Bringing in extra musicians has always been a real treat. We've had everyone from Coast favorite Coconut Dave on steel pans, Scott Nickerson helping us out on percussion and harmonica. Lloyd Munn comes down from Clinton, Mississippi from time to time, blows harp with us. Numerous guitar players and fiddle players and mandolins, and sometimes it's planned and sometimes it's just because someone comes up right before the show and introduces themselves and tells us enough about themselves and their musical background that we let them get up and do a handful of tunes, and a lot of times the tape's running, so that puts it into the annals of history there. But it's really enlightening. It's almost like having a single speaker stereo all your life and then bringing in the right hand speaker, and now you've got it in stereo, and then you roll it around and put two more in and have quadraphonic sound, and it gets better and better, and the energy levels come up, and it's neat to take it from a bass duo or a bass trio and then throw lead instruments, and it's like just a palette of colors.
So do you have anything coming up on the horizons, or anything that you're just dreaming about maybe right now with Rhythm and Rain? Where do you want to take it?
Very good question. As I said before, I'm a new dad with a gorgeous 6-month-old daughter, and that's definitely told me at the ripe old age of 34 to slow down and experience all the changes that go on with having a child. And with the band, that's definitely, it can't help but be reflected in that. So putting more quality shows together as opposed to the Walmart way of just putting out 10,000 widgets for the sake of having 10,000 widgets. I would rather put out 1,000 really good products as opposed to flooding the market. So that if anything for Rhythm and Rain, it's going to be fewer shows, but they're all going to be so much more special.
And reminiscent of Chaz McDonald, I always like to ask musicians about band stories. Everybody has a story that something crazy happens. Sometimes the story isn't even suitable for airplay. But with that in mind, give me that story that you tell 1,000 times and it never gets old.
I don't know which one to pick. I guess I could pick one for the year 2004, which happened back on Memorial Day. Frank and I had just put the Rhythm and Rain train back on the tracks and got a call from a friend in Mobile that owns a topless bar. And he was having an employee Memorial Day pool party and wanted us to be the entertainment. And just to not incriminate ourselves with our wives or children, let's just say there wasn't anything less than a double D in the pool. Lots of clear shoes and lots of silicone. Mostly the clear heels. Lots of clear shoes.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. Is there anything you want to say to all those screaming Rhythm and Rain fans out there?
Hold it down. It's loud. I don't like it loud. Quit screaming. You can talk at normal levels. Seriously, I really appreciate the support. Not only from the numerous Parrot Head clubs and friends and family, but just the fans in general and people that appreciate really good music. If everyone was a musician, then no one would ever come hear each other. So you have to have the listeners and you have to have the performers to make this machine work. And I think I just want to say, we really appreciate the support and all the positive feedback and the negative feedback, because you can't grow if you don't know where you're going wrong. So I think that's it.
Well, Rain, thank you so much for taking a break from all the groupies and having a little radio interview.
Backstage time here. Yes, we're looking for the Bettys.
There you have it, folks. Rain of Rhythm and Rain.
Pay your tabs, wear your seatbelts. Don't keep anything to yourself. It's all cylindrical. The more you give, the more you get back. Good vibrations.
Thank you so much, Rain.
I'm picking up good vibrations.
All right. Hit stop.